It's the pop culture show with cult classic swagger. This is Inglorious Brothers. I'm Matt Harper, and together with my brother Justin, we dive into the deep end of the zeitgeist each week to bring you cool talk and hot takes. No genre is too specific, no topic too broad, and no rabbit hole too deep as we open our minds and enjoy each other's company. Sound good? Then let's ride.
Hello and welcome to Inglorious Brothers. I'm Justin and I'm here with my brother Matt. And on today's show, we're finally taking stock of a little corner of the pop culture landscape that's been on our radar for a couple months now. Saturday Night Live UK. That's right. In case you haven't heard, Saturday Night Live, the venerable and beloved late night sketch comedy show, which has been broadcasting from Studio 8H in New York City's Rockefeller Center for 51 years running, has launched a British version of the show. It just dropped its 7th episode of the season series this past Saturday, hosted by Ted Lasso's Hannah Waddington, with indie folk rocker Miles Smith as the musical guest. To say the show bears a similarity to the U.S. version would be an understatement. In many, many ways, it is exactly like the U.S. version, but British. Similarities include the format, the cold open, the monologue, and weekend update. But there are subtle differences too, and it is in these that much of the enjoyment of this cheekier version of the show is found. We will assess the quality of these first 7 episodes on the show today and compare the UK show with the American Original Recipe SNL as it stands here in 2026 around the halfway point of its 51st season. So stay tuned, or rather, live from the internet. It's the Inglorious Brothers. Welcome to the show, everybody. Saturday Night Live holds a special place in both Matt and I's hearts. It has been a staple piece of our pop culture diet for, pretty much my entire life and pretty much Matt's entire life. This kind of came up on our radar, a few months ago when we realized that they were going to be doing the UK version, and then we immediately were like, oh, we have to talk about this on the show. And so finally, here we are. And I won't say that I'm disappointed, because I do think that it is pretty cool, but much to my chagrin, I almost feel like it might be too formulaic. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like it. I wanted something that stood apart, and it stands very much adjacent. And I don't know. So what are your first thoughts?
Well, I had never even had a thought that, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they had a British version of Saturday Night Live, one of my all-time favorite shows, as you just said. So I was just pleasantly surprised to hear it, because I love Saturday Night Live. This means I get twice as much of it. They're all speaking English, sign me up. So I don't know that I had a need for it to differentiate itself from the original show. And in fact, one of the things that we talked about last year when we were doing the 50th anniversary SNL, and we went deep diving on, Original Recipe last year. I think one of the points that I commented on, because I went back and watched like the very first episode with George Carlin, like the entire template for the show was there, like on the first show. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that template has stood the test of time is just kind of mind-blowing if you think about it, that it hasn't changed a bit. You know what I mean? It's still cold open, musical guest, opening monologue, into this things, like everything. The weekend update coming right after the first musical number, like it's there, and it's just like a perfect jewel of a setup or whatever you want to call it, a structure. And so the fact that they can take that thing and just drop it in England, and all the references change, and the people they're doing impersonations change, but the structure, it works. It just works. You could drop that structure into India, and you could drop it into, Africa and Australia, wherever the hell you put that. I feel like it would work. It's rock solid. And it pays a lot of homage to the original show. It makes no bones about the fact that it's excited to get the chance, the honor of being, the first spinoff. And there's a sense that they really want to do it justice.
That I
And
agree with. I totally agree with. They absolutely want to do the original justice. I agree with that statement.
And I have to say that, like, when I first started getting back into the original Saturday Night Live a couple of years ago, like, for me, there was like a curve. Like, I had to get to know the new people. I was walking in with like there were no cast members that I was familiar with the possible exception of Kenan Thompson, who's been on since like what, the early '80s. Um, so, you know, I kind of had to learn that cast, and now they just seem like they're in my DNA, like the current cast and all. And I think it's kind of the same way with the SNL cast. At first it just they seem so just, who are these people? Like, I hadn't heard of a single one of them, but now, like, as they're starting to groove into my consciousness, they're really, becoming people that I'm attached to in my same ways. And there's certainly some that stand out over some of the others. That's for sure.
Yeah, I will say I like the musical guests on the UK version better than pretty much any musical guests that the current version of the original posits. I don't, and again, maybe it's because I don't know these bands. Maybe they're giant. Maybe they are, huge artists in their own right. And I just, I'm unaware of them. But, I feel like I was like, oh man, like, typically I'm like, unless it's somebody that I'm interested in, I just bypass. If it's somebody I'm completely uninterested in, I'll watch it for a minute to see, if they've got something interesting visually going on or whatever. But if it's just like cookie cutter, I just skip it. And I found myself being like, oh wait, like, all right, let's see what's going on here. The second episode was Wolf. What was it? I have it in my notes. Wolf Alice. Dude.
Yeah.
So good.
Don't bury the lead. The first episode was Wet Leg. Like, Wet Leg was freaking incredible.
Wet Leg was good. They weren't as good as Wolf Alice. My opinion. But
yeah, but they were both cool.
Yeah. Now,
and we could do on air production meeting. We need
Sure.
to do a show about like the return of rock.
Yeah, it's definitely
Because
making
rock
research.
is so back, and I love it. But go ahead.
So, I felt like it got funnier the more episodes I watched, and the more I got comfortable with people. Like, instead of it being, I think you really nailed something there. There's something about being comfortable with the cast that does help make it funnier, because I noticed as I went back and was watching some of this season's, original recipe SNL, the cast members that I connect with, I typically find their stuff to be funnier than others. And it felt that way as well. And it also felt like, especially after the first episode, they started to hit a stride. I don't know if there was just a lot of nerves in that first episode, but there was so much coming at me on that I don't feel like I enjoyed it nearly as much as I enjoyed the subsequent shows.
There was an electricity to it, though. There really was. And like, having Tina Fey there, she's like Saturday Night Live royalty. It was a very good choice to have her there to anchor that kind of thing. I mean, one of my favorite sketches of the year was on that episode. I have to say.
Which one?
It was towards the end. It was with Emma Seedy. She's the actor on there. She's absolutely incredible. It was the one where Tina Fey like was in the dressing room trying on bras, and the the woman was like
The
yelling out loud
jugs,
to
the
the
jugs
yeah,
episode, the jug
to the
sketch.
women. It
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
hysterical. And she straight up like feels up Tina Fey in this sketch and everything, but
Yeah,
it
she's
was
very
just,
funny. She's one of the funniest ones on the
she's
whole
top
cast.
three. Yeah,
Yeah.
Emma Seedy is definitely top three.
I also like the guy that looks like I should pull the cast up because I don't know any of their names. The guy that kind of looks like low rent Martin Freeman.
George Fouracres.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, it's Fouracre. He is possibly number one on the show, in my opinion. I mean, he's the guy that does the prime minister. He's got
Yes.
that really nasally voice. He is that guy's hysterical. I think quite possibly the funniest thing that I've seen on that show in 7 episodes so far is when he did "Which version of Irish is your granddad" at the end of the very first episode. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Incredible. That is just like a tour de force of accent work. That's just on another level. Like that was incredible. These guys can like, I don't even know where to start. Both of these casts are so freaking talented. It's ridiculous. Like when you look at some of the stuff that these guys are pulling off, they are so good. And like that guy's accent work and just the accent work in general on the show, the way they differentiate all these different class accents amongst the British, incredible.
When two of my favorite moments when they did the David Attenborough Last Supper, okay, and they had that young blonde kid playing Princess Diana, but then in the next show they like showed some sort of like they were in like a flashback or something like that. And where they had like Prince, it was the cold open, and they had Prince Andrew like is going to be like a secret agent to take down Epstein or whatever, and they showed like a newspaper with like a headline about Diana dying, and it was him as Diana on the newspaper. I was like, that's good. Like that's chef's kiss. That's exactly what you need on Saturday Night Live. Those little callbacks that make you go, oh yeah. I remember when they did that. Even though it was literally. Go ahead.
Literally what?
I was going to say, even though it was literally the episode before that, it wasn't really. It's hard to call back something, but it was. They're only on the second episode.
No, that's good though. That creates like a through line for a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of like the similarities and the subtle differences, because there's a lot of it that I really love. Like, and following this on Reddit is so good because people are just all over every aspect of the show and drilling into the details. But one big similarity is that the cold open is basically almost always a political thing. Like their prime minister, what's his name, Starmer or whatever, Starmer. Is right at the center of it. And we've seen on the American SNL for incredibly long time, it was just Jadge doing Trump like week in, week out, like, and now they've pivoted, and suddenly Colin Jost is doing more acting than he is Weekend Updating, because he's on there every single week as Pete Hegseth. And he's hilarious.
The one with where Cash Patel, where they're in the bar.
Yeah, with Matt
Cash
Damon
Patel.
this past week, dude. This past week was, it's crazy to see. What's his name? It's Cash Patel.
It's hysterical though, dude. It's a very good job.
When he does the eyes, he looks just like him. Yeah.
When he did the face, oh my god! But yeah, if you haven't seen this week's SNL, the cold open is amazing. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. It's very, very funny. It's all about the drinking, and it's hysterical.
Right. But my point is like, okay, so similarity, cold open, usually politically based, and I love that. And that's one thing that I love about the show in general, is that it's willing to, speak a tiny little bit of truth to power. Although it's interesting, the takes that it takes on some of the political people, like I find James Austin Johnson's Trump kind of fascinating in a way, because like they don't play him as dumb at all on the show. He's smart, and he's usually like the smartest guy in the room on the show, but he is evil. You know what I mean? But they turn it into like just a banal, like everyday kind of evil. Like, I don't know. To me, I think the acting on the show on both shows is really, really good. I think that all the players they have are quality and they can really do a lot. Um, I think it is probably always has been and always will be like the challenge is the writing. Like you gotta do killer sketches. You gotta write killer sketches. These people will hit the ball out of the park if you give them the material. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think that in both cases, especially early on this season at SNL Classic, the writing was not there early on in the season. Like, I mean,
A lot of misses. A
a
lot
lot
of
of
misses.
misses, and like there was misses in this too. I thought the Hamnet sketch could have been funny, was not funny. Like, you know, it had bones to be funny, and I just felt like it wasn't funny.
Right. And there were funny parts of it, but I'm
Yeah,
with you
yeah.
there.
But well, like I liked the guy that was playing Shakespeare, but then they switched him like in the middle. They like switched characters. Like I
Right.
wouldn't have done that. Like I would have rather seen him evolve as opposed to them switching characters as the evolution. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Didn't make a ton of sense to me. But
But if
whatever.
you contrast that, okay, so take that, contrast that with the sketch. I was going to try to pull it up, but I think it might have been just like a week ago. Um, the Mario, like the Super Mario coming home. It was like a
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
household drama.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was hysterical, absolutely hysterical. And I think that was the same guy, Four Acres, playing Mario, right? And just like killing it. He was like it's like Mario as portrayed by Marlon Brando. Just like all the histrionics I mean, that's the version of them landing that
Right.
parody of something, but totally landing it. Like I thought that was absolutely hysterical. So they're not incapable of writing good sketches for that show. There's plenty of them. That Tina Fey sketch was hilarious, but that one was sort of equal parts the writing and then the performance. Like that woman is just so good.
Well, she steals a lot of sketches that she's in.
Yeah.
Like, and she's one of those. She's a good chameleon that can play young, play old. She like kind of, filters in, very
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
You know
Yeah,
who
she's like
does?
Ashley. She's like Ashley Padilla.
Yes,
Yeah.
one hundred
Ashley
percent.
Padilla is becoming like the workhorse of the show. She's like the Phil Hartman of the show where she can just like anchor every sketch.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Um, you know who else is really good on that on the, and I felt differently because I felt like they were trying to pigeonhole him into something. Is Marcel? Is that
Marcelo?
yeah or Marcelo? Yeah, Marcelo. I felt like for a hot second after he did that the Sabrina Carpenter sketch, and they wanted him like they were like kept going back to that like over and over again. And I was like, man, I really hope they don't just make this character one dimensional. He is very, very good, and he's almost better when they don't expect that nonsensical shit out of him. Like when they just kind of let him be the character, he's coming on a lot more than I thought he would.
Well, he also got he brought a killer impression to the table this year, which is the Sebastian Maniscalco. He's done that.
It's
He's done
really good.
he's
Yeah,
done two of those Sebastian sketches, and he's hysterical in those. Absolutely, like I can just sit there and watch him the entire time. So I like to see that. Another recent impression that they have already realized they've got a winner on their hands. Have you caught Jeremy Culhane's Tucker Carlson? What are we doing here? What's going on? That is incredible. Incredible. Like keep on he needs to be pivoted to like cold open. You know what I mean? He could work right there in that cold open uh
agreed, agreed,
spot as
agreed.
well. So yeah, very impressive on that front. All right, going back to the similarities though. All right, so you
Okay.
got the cold open, the politics. Okay, so then it's live from London. It's Saturday night. Same exact. Usually a couple of people getting in on the action. Um, they got the jazzy soundtrack. Uh, Jazzy, kind of sax based, but different, right? The same but different. And then they've got the announcer. They went with a female announcer instead of a male announcer. She has a somewhat annoying way of announcing the names, but it's starting to grow on me. She goes up at the end. She's like, I can't think of like George Foregas, Anya Magliano. Like
I think it's just her style of doing it.
yeah.
Because you got
That's
to
what I'm
remember,
saying.
she's doing
It's
it
the
for the
same, but
studio.
different.
You got to remember, she's doing it for the studio audience too. So like
Yeah, of
that's
course,
her way
of
of
course.
introducing those people.
Mhm. And then one thing that Reddit absolutely loves about this moment of the show is like when the host first comes, they like walk across that staircase and they can look out that window before they come down the stairs and then turn out onto the stage. And people will like do a little something or other up there in that window. Love that. You know what I mean? Saturday Night Live classic. They just come out of the middle of the door, back of the stage, and walk through the band. On this one, they pop out the top, cool little window look. So it's like its own thing. It's the same thing, but it's its own thing. You know?
By the way, just speaking of coming through the door in the band, I loved, but I wish they'd have done more. Alexander Skarsgård, like giving flowers to the band, I thought was great.
Oh
I
yeah,
did.
yeah,
I
that's right, that's
loved
right.
that. I loved that.
Yeah, but so they both got the good bands, and then it's like monologue exactly the same. Sometimes, they pull in people from the audience, or like Jimmy Fallon walks on and participates.
That one was
Like,
great. Like,
yeah, and I love how they're willing to like they want the old Saturday Night Live to be a part of the new Saturday Night Live.
yes, no, I agree. But it was neat. It was really cool how when they did that, even though it was like you could tell. I mean, obviously it's a forced thing. They still made it feel really natural in a way. I don't know how else to
Yeah,
describe it, but it like
it just
even
because
though
it
it's
just makes sense.
yeah, it did. It felt totally
It's just SNL.
seamless. Yes.
It's just
Um,
like, of course Jimmy Fallon's there. Why wouldn't he be there? This is SNL, right? That's what he does.
right. The you know it, but I don't know. There's also times where I wish that I had that there was something that differentiated it a little bit. Like sometimes I feel like it's like, am I just watching a you know a transplanted version of the exact same show? They're not like, I want them to do something to own it for themselves. I don't know why that is, but I have this feeling when I see because in the U.S. they Americanize British shit all the time, and this is the reversal of that. And when that happens here, with a TV show or whatever, I always want them to put their own stamp on it. And I wish that they had something that was there, like something that was theirs that wasn't necessarily a part
I
of
get
the
that.
show. You know what I'm
That would be
saying?
cool. That would be cool. Maybe something like that will evolve, though. I mean.
I hope it does. I really do. I think
I
that you're
think
probably
I
right.
think the biggest it could be is like within a sketch. It could be like a kind of a sketch that they don't do in the American
Right.
style because they're not going to get rid of the rest of the structure. It's going to be
No, it's going to be the
with the
main structure. You're right.
all
Will
all
stay
of
the
that
same.
is going to be the same. Um, and I mean, there's definitely like a warm comfort. It's like putting on a warm sweater. That show. You get that just plays out exactly the way you've been watching. Hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. But at the same time, sometimes like a punchline will roll out, and you will hear the studio audience laughing their ass off at it, and you will have no idea what they're talking about. Like it'll be some British thing, and you'll be like, uh-huh. Like as
Yep.
the whole audience is dying of laughter, and you're like,
Yes. Yeah. There's a
"Oh,
lot. There's
wish
a
I knew what that
lot.
meant."
Yeah. There's a lot of references and maybe that too.
To people too, to British people too. They talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
British
Yeah.
people that
Well, and maybe that too has something to do with that, like that disconnection maybe that I feel when I'm watching it is that, you know, I don't get all the references, whereas there's just about nothing that SNL references that I don't understand. So
Yeah, yeah, but I kind of like that. To me, it's like a little bit of a challenge, and it puts a little bit of mystery into it. I think the sketches that really sort of like walk the line, like that 45 seconds before Acres, the first one, he did a funny one later on too. That's like a sort of recurring thing. But the first one that he did with your Irish granddad, you know, I probably missed 50% of the jokes within those characters that he just spooled out
right.
so quickly like that. That the audience was laughing at. But I've seen a lot of movies with people with Irish accents of every stripe. And so just hearing how focused each one of those accents were, how dialed in he was on the very particularities of each of those accents, that was more than enough for me to just be busting the gut. And that's that when the sketches can kind of walk that line, I think it's perfect.
How
You
about
know,
yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. How about the first F bomb?
that's another interesting
What a
differentiation. Yeah,
wrinkle.
absolutely.
I
That was
didn't,
wild.
dude, until I didn't even notice it until they pointed it out because it
Yeah.
happened, and then they called to it.
No,
All right,
no, you're right, but I definitely noticed it when it happened.
it just rolled with me. I didn't like it. Didn't click that it shouldn't be there.
Here's the next question that leads to: Will there ever be like brief nudity on that show?
I don't know. Who
Can't they
knows?
do that as well, like on
I think so. I mean,
BBC?
they are definitely different
Especially
over
when you're
there.
talking about like a late night show, like a late night cable show or whatever. I don't know.
Because, oh
But
man,
that's very
can you
interesting.
imagine like a dick on Saturday Night Live? Sorry, mom.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
That would be crazy.
that would be wild. Um,
Full frontal nudity on Saturday Night Live. That'd be wild. What a time to live in.
for sure. Well, uh, I so we get the opening monologue. That's they come out very very similarly, and then we get like what 3 4 sketches between in the first big block of the show before we get to the musical guest.
Well, and you get the like the produced bit
Right. I
directly
was gonna say
out.
in and amongst
Yeah.
the sketches you get like produced bits, um, and I feel like they are just as good at those produced bits as the quality level is there, the production level, the production values are there. They're doing musical ones, like fake music videos. They're doing fake commercials. Um,
I thought the fake commercial for Underage,
yeah,
is that what it's,
Underage.
yeah,
Yeah.
Underage was very good. And then the British pub rap song was very, very good.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder
So
how much I wonder how much crossover with like production they have. Like I wonder if like certain people from the original show are working on the UK version to kind of like guide them in the right you know what I mean, like in the right
mhm,
directions.
I would
It,
be interested to know
it'd also be
like
interesting. It'd
how that
also
all
be.
worked
I'd
out.
love to see a behind the scenes, like how they're doing, because like we have a good idea of like how writing at SNL works. That there's, head writers, and it is it's an amalgamation of everybody writing stuff and bringing it to the table early in the week, and then they start to flesh out the episode based on the writing that comes in, and this sketch or that sketch, and certain people find are in a groove are going to definitely get their stuff on, and so it'd be interesting to see how that works with it being so new and there not being any precedence as far as who's writing what. You know what I mean?
Hmm. 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 I I think their choice of hosts is very interesting and well thought out, because if you look at the hosts they've had on there thus far, they started with Tina Fey. Of course, she's an internationally known quantity.
And
Jamie Dorn.
that bridges your gap. That
Oh
bridges your
yeah,
gap between the two. That makes
it
total
establishes the link that like these two shows are in communication with each other. Oh, that's something I was going to say earlier. I'm waiting for the very first time that we see, like, we're watching SNL US and some sketch is going on and a character enters and it's one of the SNL UK players that's doing a walk on the American SNL and the audience goes ape shit. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then it
It
would
would
be like
be.
confirmation, like that we are one.
I
You
mean,
know?
with the live time difference, there's no reason why they couldn't technically like bring one, like, especially in their cold open, like just, flop the screen and show you like have him play Starmer, 5 hours later on
Yeah.
on Saturday Night Live. It'd be a
Oh, that would be
horrible day for that
awesome.
guy's, right?
Yeah, but that would be awesome.
Like
Like
on a
all of a
phone
sudden,
call or
like
something.
Trump is talking to him, and he's there on the TV. Yeah, that'd be
Or
fantastic.
vice
So,
versa. Like how, like maybe not, maybe Trump, like, because he's got 5 hours before the show, like
right.
he gets on a phone call on a screen for them. That'd be awesome.
At one point, they were talking to Trump. There was one of those cold opens. They had Trump on the phone, and someone was doing a Trump impression, but I don't know if it was Jaj. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, so the hosts that they've had this year, Tina Fey, then they had Jamie Dornan. He's a pretty well-known actor in the United States. Riz Ahmed, everybody knows who he is. They had this guy, Jack Whitehall. I did not know much about that guy. Did you know who Jack
I
Whitehall
didn't
is?
know much about him, and he was
And
probably my least favorite out of the first bunch.
Same. And then you had Nicola Coughlan, and she is on that show Dairy Girls. She actually did a walk on at the end of
In the first, yeah.
that 4 acres thing. She walked
She
on at the end of it when
wasn't.
they were singing the Irish songs and the whole audience started singing the song.
Well, didn't she come out in the monologue too?
She might have, yeah. She
Yeah,
probably did.
she was definitely on the first episode for sure.
Yeah. Uh so, she's a known quantity. I know people have watched that
She's
show. And
funny.
then you had Amy Lou
Melissa
Wood.
McCarthy vibes.
Yeah, big time Melissa McCarthy vibes. And then Amy Lou Wood is kind of like she was on that uh whatever island show she's the one that SNL got in trouble for last year because they were parodying her buck teeth. You remember that? Like my girl Sarah Sherman was like what was that show that everybody watched? It was like
Love Island.
no, it wasn't Love Island. It was like set at a resort like
Oh, the
spa.
White Lotus.
Yeah, White Lotus. She's on the White Lotus. Okay, so people know her. And then this past week was Hannah Waddingham, and she was on Ted Lasso. So it's like they're very thoughtfully choosing hosts that will bring an international audience in, and not someone that's like so specific that you're going to be like, I have no idea who that person is. Like, I'm not watching. Like, it's more like, oh, she's hosting. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. So I think that's good
I thought Hannah
decision
Waddingham
making.
did a really, really good job, dude. Because
Yeah,
that
she
chick
was
can
game.
sing. She was all over the place.
Yeah, she's super super game and just like I appreciate a performer who was just willing to be bizarro, to be, gross out, to be whatever, you know what I mean? Because
I
generally
thought she
speaking,
had one of the better monologues too.
yeah, she was funny. Um, so wait, what else? What was I just about to?
Let's talk about Weekend Update.
Right, yeah. Update.
We were talking about the formula. We're talking about the things that are the same. Let's talk about Update, because I think that we are in one of the best eras of Update on the original show. I think Michael Che and Colin Jost have done such a great job with Weekend Update for, I mean, it's probably been like 7 years or 8 years at this point. They're very, very good at it. And I like the two that are doing it. I probably like, I wish I should pull the cast back up again.
It's Patty and
Yeah.
Anya.
I like
Anya.
Patty better than Anna. I will say that.
Yeah, they're both pretty good. I mean, I think Pat Anya is more playing the straight person, and he's more the comic relief in general.
And I will say, I felt like I had a note in here. I'm like a BTS jokes 2 weeks in a row, but it's now become a thing. So they're like doing the BTS thing like every single week.
Well, I
And
mean, I know that they're both big fans of Beyond the Slipstream, so I mean, it makes sense.
nice plug, nice plug. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, so it's I didn't get it at first, and so but it's I think that's like anything else is that with these types of shows you do need to build up a relationship with it before, and so that the running jokes have a little bit of steam. You know what I mean? They have a
mhm.
little bit ahead of a little head of steam when they do land.
Well, and I think that like it will only make us more knowledgeable. Like as we continue to take in this show, we'll know more about British politics and British stuff in general, and the British, outlook on the world from from watching the show. So, um,
It
and
is a
they,
it's neat to see the juxtaposition of hearing a weekend update that is skewering the things we don't see.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
hmm And they, just like the American show, they have like people that come out on Weekend Update and do little bits and stuff like that. And I think the bits are you know quite
I
good.
They're as 50-50 as they are on the regular show because sometimes
Yeah,
those bits are have no gas in them whatsoever, and sometimes they're very very funny.
yeah.
You know what I
Um,
mean? I feel like for every what's the one that Bill Hader did with the with what
no,
can't I
I
think of
know,
his
I know. Yes, I keep wanting to say
Stefan
like Sebastian. Yeah,
Stefan.
Stefan.
All
Yeah.
right, for every one of those, yeah, for every one of those, you've got 5 or 6 that don't work, and but every once in a while, you're gonna stumble upon a Stefan, you're gonna
hmm
stumble upon drunk uncle. You know what I mean? Like there are some that will cream will rise to the top, so to speak. But it's a
Yeah.
great
No.
place to practice those things and to trot something new out quickly.
Yeah, and I think those characters, they're all going to, they will, show to show land on, things that work, and then they'll be able to, do them again, just like the 45 seconds before Acres. Like that's going to be pull it out every 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, and let them, give the guy a couple of minutes to do his thing. There's going to be characters, I think about my girl Sarah Sherman on the American show, and like she's just got like so many good characters that she can do like on Update. The one where she basically like turns everything that Colin Jost says around into like him acting like an awful like rich guy pedophile, like, and Colin, this just in, Colin Jost, blah blah blah,
How about
and it,
just speaking of her? How about the one of her as the weather girl when they like sent her outside in Rockefeller Center?
yeah.
Dude, like it was. Man, she's funny, dude. She is
She's
funny,
incredible.
very
I
very funny.
I absolutely adore her. Well, let's finish out kind of on the UK, and then I'd like to have at least something of a conversation about
Okay.
the state of play in the US with the show now. Um, but comparing, you mentioned the musical guests. Now you said you thought the musical guests for UK were better than the US. I I am ready to make the case that you're dead wrong. Um,
Ooh.
okay, so British SNL. This is the lineup of musical guests they've had: Wet Leg, Wolf Alice, Kasabian, Georgia Smith, Foo Fighters, Meek, and Miles Smith. So Wet Leg, awesome. I absolutely love that band. I think it was a perfect choice for the first episode. No problems with that. Wolf Alice, like you said, awesome. Love them. Kasabian and Georgia Smith, I didn't know either of these artists, and I can't even remember what they were. Foo Fighters, I thought both of those songs were totally meh. Like,
They're both new. They have a new album. They're both new.
yeah, yeah, I figured so. And like, it's cool, really cool that they were on there. And that was the same episode where Jimmy Fallon was running around, and I think they got into a sketch maybe, and like
They
all
were in
that.
that. They were in the runaround in the during the monologue, or at least Dave Grohl was.
Right. So I liked all that. And interestingly, like at the American SNL, sometimes they'll do that where a musical guest will get pulled into a sketch, like with Jack White and Mumford and Sons, which are going to be part of me making my case for the quality of the American musical guests this year. So Foo Fighters, I was kind of hit or miss on that, and then Meek and Miles Smith. I mean, Miles Smith is basically the British version of Noah Khan, the guy that they had on the American version this week. Like a guy playing the acoustic guitar kind of halfway between, folk and rock, and like they're
Yeah.
literally, it's like the British version of it. So I would say that lineup of those seven, really good in some spots, pretty meh in other spots, right?
But I will say this is that they're not like they're trying to do their own thing with those musical guest choices, which I respect.
Hmm.
And I've never heard of Wolf Alice, and I was completely blown away by that first song. Like the first song that they did was
Hmm.
so good. Like so good. So in that aspect, as bridging a gap and exposing me to culture that I am not exposed to, in my current circles, I really like that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that the musical guests have been bad per se. I just think that they typically choose pretty safe musical guests on SNL.
Um, I don't know. I think just like the comedy, the musical guests are up and down on SNL. And that was another point that I wanted to make about just comparing the shows in general is that, well, I'll make that point later. I take your meaning as to what you're saying, but if I look at this season of American SNL, I will throw out a handful of performances and choices that I think were fantastic. The opening episode with Bad Bunny as host had Doja Cat. She's badass, and both of her performances were badass. So that like right off the bat at the top of the season, um, they're hitting a home run. You got Brandy Carlisle. You got Aesop Rocky. The Geese performance was amazing. Absolutely loved it. And that was on the episode with Tayana Taylor, which was a pretty damn good episode, especially like when she did like the old uncle at the wedding.
I did not see that episode. I will go back and
Oh,
watch it.
yeah, that one's really, really good. You got to watch that. And the Geese performance, the second song is just so badass. Um, and then we got Mumford and Sons. We got the very weird Gorillas performance where they played like their one big hit song from way back then. I'm like, really? Like you're playing Gorillas is doing like their
They've had
one
a little bit
song
of a
from
resurgence in
25 years
general.
ago.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
they got something going on or something, but like I just thought that was weird. One thing it's going to be interesting to see is when will UK have their first episode where the host is also the musical guest because like that is fully a thing nowadays. Sabrina
Mhm.
Carpenter, Harry Styles, uh, what's her name? That just did it a couple weeks ago. Olivia Rodrigo. So they lean into that fully. But then we also had Jack White performing. Um, so that's a
I
pretty
mean,
strong.
they
That's a
definitely
pretty strong
ran
lineup.
the two Jacks there, the Jack White, Jack Black. I mean, they were doing a thing there,
Yeah,
obviously.
but Jack White is badass.
Very
Like,
good.
and
Yeah.
he was another one of those guys that performed in a skit as well. He walked on during some sketch. Mumford and Sons walked on in a sketch this
There was
year.
a sketch during that episode that I thought was absolutely hysterical. It was the Airbnb sketch where it was like four of the younger cast members like
With
renting a B
Jack White as like the Airbnb host.
the super host. Yeah, and he kept like going in the closet, and then Melissa McCarthy came out as his wife. That sketch was hysterical.
Absolutely.
Oh, there's another sketch that I caught this week while I was like trying to digest as much as possible. The Ryan Gosling sketch where they were passing notes. Holy shit, was that funny?
Yeah.
That's one of the funniest sketches they've done all year long. And I love a sketch that breaks them, that breaks the character, and they end up breaking the fourth wall, or they start laughing. Yeah. And that passing notes, you could tell that Padilla and Gosling had not seen anything that they were reading, and Padilla, they gave her some crazy shit to read.
Oh yeah.
And it destroyed her, and I thought that was so good.
Well, I think there was also stuff written on there that was like completely shocking, that like they would instantly recognize, oh, this is so bad that I can't like actually say this. But it made them laugh, and then they realized, oh, they just put that there. They knew I wasn't going to read this aloud. They're just trying to get inside my head, right? And that's why they were even laughing harder. I mean, that's some meta stuff right there, which I love. That's the thing. I mean, the show, they continue to like, lean into just the weirdness and pushing the weirdness and just coming up with bizarro, total nonsensical sketches, full committal in the performances and stuff like that. It's just like some of them are funnier than others. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of the same way with the British.
There was which one had I watched so much SNL this week. Who had the lobster or the crab or whatever that was like in the sketch? Was that a US one?
Yeah. I remember that.
I just remember that.
They also did two lobsters on
that
Update.
sketch just fell so flat.
Yeah. Okay. So let me use that as a transition into like talking about specifically about like what's going on with the American side of the show. I think that there is there's an obstacle that you can run into in falling prey to nostalgia. Okay. So it's like, I look back on classic Saturday Night Live, and I used to watch it absolutely every single week. Like it was just like I do now. Like it was must see TV. I always watched it when I was during the times that I was into it. And I look back and I think of all of these just classic sketches, just from over the years. Like I got in at the Eddie Murphy times is when I started watching it, and I just all the classic Eddie Murphy sketches and everything, but they all run together, and you forget that like on every one of those episodes where one of those classic sketches happened, there were 4 sketches that I would be hard pressed to remember, unless I saw it and like, oh yeah, right, that way, yeah. Like, and so that's kind of the way it is now. You know what I mean? Like if you get one, all right, let's pull out. Over the course of the season, if you can walk away from the course of like one season of Saturday Night Live with let's say 3 classic sketches, I'd say that's a good hit rate, right? If every year we put 3 classic sketches into the canon of SNL, I mean, there's already lots of them in there. Like, that'd be a good rate. Every decade we're putting 30 more classic sketches in. That's it. So you don't even have to have a stone cold classic every week, but it's just like it's a numbers game,
I think the thing that did the disservice to this particular season is that they lost some anchor they lost some anchor actors, this year. And I feel like, especially in the first couple episodes, they didn't know where to go with certain, with it certain, with certainty, or with, it seemed like they were throwing a lot of stuff at the wall just to see what would stick, rather than lean into the actors that they have. Because now it seems like so far about halfway through the season that they're starting to hit a better stride as far as, who's doing the heavy lifting. And, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, those first couple episodes were like damn near hard to watch, and it's gotten much better throughout the season.
For sure. I can't remember what I was going to say. So yeah, we lost Bo and Yang. We lost Heidi Gardner. Were two
Both heavy lifters.
Yeah, two
Both
big heavy lifters. But I think that has created space for some people to come in. I mean, I think number one, like Ashley Padilla is now like anchoring the show in a lot of ways. And a lot of times she's just playing that goofy mom character or something like that.
But she does
like
it so well.
But so well. Occasionally she gets to be just like batshit crazy, like that one sketch where they were in the work, that like in the lunchroom at the work at the business or whatever, and she's just like, you talking about blah blah blah, you talking about what was that sketch? Did you see that one?
I don't know, but the one that's coming to mind for me with her is the cat litter sketch. Was that was in the episode with Matt Damon?
I don't. I must have seen that one.
Dude, the cat litter sketch was hysterical. Where they were like they were like the cat litter turns blue when a human pisses in it.
Oh yeah.
Dude. And Matt Damon and her are like convinced that it's their son. And it ends up being the dog, and they're like attacking each other about who's peeing. Because once they established that it wasn't the son, they like turned on each other that it had to be one of them. And of course, it's not Matt Damon. Because that's the premise of it. So he turns on her with like this crazy viciousness, like, "Why are you pissing in the litter box?" And then they show the dog, and the dog is the punchline. It's like, oh, you have a dog too? Yeah, it's probably the dog. And there was like the voiceover was like talking directly to them. Oh man, that sketch was funny, dude.
Total absurdist humor. I mean, it was incredible. Well, you definitely need to go. I think it was on the Jack Black episode. That sketch with her in the lunchroom. Where she's like sitting at the table in the back. Yeah, it's a Jack Black episode. And she's like, yeah, are y'all talking about Game of Thrones? You talking about Game of Thrones? And they're trying to ignore her, and she keeps yelling at them. And at one point, I can't remember what it was she was asking, but she kept saying, are y'all talking about blah, blah, blah? She said like 2 or 3 different things over the course of the show. But at the end, whatever the one was that she laid on the end, she said it like 20 times in a row. I'm not joking. Like, I was like, okay, this is avant-garde. Like it was getting really avant-garde. She just kept saying it, and they're all just like sitting there because they were like, just ignore her and she'll stop talking. And so they're all sitting there, and she just keeps saying it, and you can just see her sitting back there, and she could just wait for a second. Yola! And they're like, Yola!
Because they probably weren't expecting her to continue to go on.
Yeah, absolute. It was genius. So, yeah, they're leaning on her, and then I feel like in the first half of the season, it was Dismukes that was like all over like every sketch in the first half of the season, like kind of pulling that anchor role as well. But now I think things are like starting to broaden out. I think all of the featured players are on the come up. I think the standout amongst the featured players is besides Ashley is Sloey Koska. She is hilarious. I laugh just looking at her, the way she does the little lisp thing and her delivery, and she can really dial a character in.
They have not figured out how to use Cam Patterson though.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that experiment. I feel like that is going to be a 1-season experiment. I mean, he is super funny, like when he does crowd work and his stand up. But boy, he's so over the top, and I just don't know. And he doesn't have any acting background at all. So like, I think that they don't know how to utilize what makes him really, really funny. And I don't know that it's going to translate to Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, yeah, he doesn't do a lot for me. Some stuff. I feel like there was one thing that he did that I thought was really funny. I thought it was like maybe an update thing where he was like talking to a celebrity or something like that. Something like that.
There was
I
a
didn't feel
weekend
that much
update
yet.
where I can't remember what he was doing, but it was pretty funny. Like there's certain, like I said, there's certain things, but it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes you almost, with those types of people, for them to be really successful on Saturday Night Live, they've got to make those people push themselves out of their comfort zone as much as possible to
Hmm.
where they are the wildest thing in a straight sketch.
Yeah,
And I feel like they haven't figured out how to utilize him in that way.
yeah. What do you think? What do you think of Jane Wickline?
Coming along for sure. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Again,
she's kind of getting into that same space that Ashley Padilla is in, where she's pretty reliable as like, the third or fourth person in whatever the sketch is.
yeah.
Um, and
Sarah, I can't think of her last name, but she's,
Sherman.
yeah, Sarah Sherman is becoming one of those where, she can be super crazy and super avant garde, but she can also be a perfect, just third, fourth person in a sketch.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, I'm already on record on this show as to how talented I think she is. Um, totally agreed. I think she has a better ability to like go on update and kill than Wickline for sure. I mean, Wickline stuff on update sometimes is pretty funny, but she's just a different kind of approach. And Sarah Sherman, I mean, the when she did when she did the punch the monkey's mom, like there was like some monkey in the story and she's like in this giant monkey outfit that's got like a pink bikini on it. So she's all furry and she's like, yeah, Colin. She's talking in a New York accent, Colin. Oh, you like this, Colin? You can't have it. Like, so good.
Um,
So good.
Now, when you get like all of those younger looking guys like Dismukes and Wickline and what's the redhead? I can't think of the redhead's name off the top of my head. Oh, you know who
Like
I'm talking about. He was part of the little group of guys that made all the
like
videos.
like James Austin Johnson.
Not him. Not him. He's another
Oh,
one of
oh,
those.
oh, oh, oh.
I know
Yeah,
you know who
yeah.
I'm talking about. I can't think of
Yeah,
his
Ben
name.
Marshall. Ben Marshall.
There you go. Like when you get all of them like acting like the younger kids, man, and throw Marcello in there, like they do a really, really good job of playing off each other.
Did you
Um,
did you notice that like in that sketch with Matt Damon, where he was like the teacher doing like the dance and trying to get the kids dancing, which credit to him for rocking out that sketch. Like Matt Damon, like that was you put in the work on that sketch, and I salute you for that, sir. Um, th did you notice that like every single cast member was in that sketch as a kid in the classroom? Like every single one of them, they were all in there doing the high school kid thing, and it's kind of funny. Like you look and there's no fill in people or anything. It's like the whole cast, which is another
Interesting.
thing.
I guess I didn't notice. Although it's also crazy to me that Mikey Day is now playing like the older character out of all of those people too. Like Mikey
Yeah,
Day is the mid 30s, mid 40s dad character,
yeah.
all over the place.
Here's what I'd
Uh,
like to see with the show in terms of cast. I'd like to see like a Mikey Day finally like retire. I mean, he's been doing it for years and years. He's got other shit going on. Like he could retire. I love him, but like somebody like him could retire. Um, Keenan could retire. I mean, it's so you lose one. Like maybe they get rid of Cam. Maybe they drop like either Tommy Brennan or Jeremy Culhane. I don't know, like whatever, and don't hire anybody else on. Tighten the cast up a little bit because that's one thing that Reddit is all over is the fact that like that English cast, it's just like just those guys. There's no featured players or people in the minor leagues working their way up or whatever. It's like just those like 9 people or 10 people or whatever it is. So they're in lots of sketches. Like they're just constantly rotating through and everything, and it really kind of not only I think is it good for them to develop
it endears
themselves.
you to the actors.
Yeah, when you get to know them better, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
just become more comfortable with them and more in tune with like what they bring. So I would kind of like to see the American show sort of go in that direction. Like, don't give yourself a couple of years. Like once you really have this thing distilled down to like all the proper pieces of the puzzle, then tighten it up.
Especially
'Cause
in a big
that's the way it was.
especially
like,
in
back
a
the
big
80s.
cast shift.
Yeah, I mean, there were times back in the '80s when there was like 7 people on the show, like the main set of players was like 7 people and the host. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So,
How do you feel about Chloe Fineman?
like she's another one that's been on there for a while. She's great. She works really well in those character actor type roles, but like I don't know, she needs something. She needs something to sink her teeth into. You know what I mean?
I agree.
She needs a character, a recurring character, I would say. Although I wish they would. I mean, she has one character that has recurred twice now, which you can give me as much of as you like, and that is as like Brailer or whatever his name is, the host of Snack Homies. And she, whatever.
Yeah, Snack Homies is funny. I will give you.
That's
Snack
like, to me.
Homies is very
To me, that is one entry from the last year that enters the canon as like classic SNL, because it puts me in the same place as the Californians. Same joke over and over and over again, but there's just something so ridiculously funny about it, and I love it. And she is, of course, the host of the show. So I will I will give her that. Please give us another episode of that.
You know who I want to see. One of, like, if you're gonna like bring over, former SNL players into SNL UK, bring over some of the former like big, long running hosts. Bring over a John Goodman or an Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
One of the like the 5 or 6 timers or 7-timer clubs, like a Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Like that. If you're gonna bring, like, if you're gonna like borrow some shit from SNL proper, like, bring something like that. Like, when I like I don't know, man. In my head, just thinking Steve Martin on there would be. I feel like that would be hysterical.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the possibilities are endless when you start thinking about how you could bring stuff from one show to the other show and cross in. We touched on it a little bit before about having Trump talking to Starmer, and yeah, the possibilities are endless. I think that the American version is still doing like pretty top notch, like pre-produced pieces.
I agree.
One I wanted to call attention to was like the one about the gentleman's code. Like, how dare you, son? We're slapping each other, like like that. That is an incredibly good piece.
Well,
if you can appreciate like how well they are doing those characters, like they are killing it.
In the beginning of the season, it was the produced bits that were carrying the show. I mean, there's no doubt those first couple episodes, if it wasn't for the produced bits, I don't know that I would have thought there was anything funny in there outside of Update and the Cold Open.
Yeah, I'd have to.
The produced bits were doing a lot of work those first 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, I did not get a chance to do as much rewatching as I would have liked in preparation for this, but yeah, I do remember it being pretty grim there in the start of the season. I got a couple of people I talk about SNL with at work, and just sort of just ruefully shaking our heads. How do you feel about Colin Jost's Pete Hegseth?
Love it. I think it is hysterical. And like I said, that bar scene with him and Kash Patel, and I can't remember who the third person was in that sketch.
It was Brett Kavanaugh. It was Matt Damon playing Brett Kavanaugh.
That's right. He was, because he was in the robes. That's right. Okay,
yes.
yeah, it was Brett Kavanaugh. And I mean, that sketch, that was a funny sketch, dude.
Yeah, I like Joe's
he
take,
rolled it.
Seth.
He rolled in and I can't. He's like, it's cash money, baby, or whatever the hell he said when he came in. God damn, was it funny?
Tom Haverford in the house. Um, Yeah, I think it's funny. It'd be funny if Che got some kind of a recurring character like that, especially like if it was like a cold open news type character. Like because
I mean,
you never see Michael
he
Che in
could
a
do
sketch.
Cory Booker or who knows, it's somebody.
There's gotta be somebody, but I just thought of another difference between the two shows that I wanted to point out, and this is like not a big enough thing for it to sort of qualify for what you were talking about as far as like the show like having its own thing, you know, that we have yet to sort of define. But I like how the host walks out of the sketch and then walks over and introduces the musical guest, and it's all like in one continuous shot. Have you noticed that?
I guess I didn't notice that. No.
Yeah, like right before the musical guest is going to start, the host is almost always in that sketch, and the sketch
Oh
finishes.
yeah, and they've
and
got and they're still
yeah,
wearing their costume.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
makeup
yeah, yeah.
person will come up to them and they start working on them as they're transitioning over, or they'll have somebody like leading them over there, like come on over there, and they'll put her in her place, and then she'll say, "Ladies and gentlemen, da da da," you know,
Right, you're
hey.
right. Because in the American version, they're always just kind of like in that one spot, and then they
Right.
pan over. Right.
Yeah, I wish that's something I wish the American version gave us a little bit more of was like pull outs where you got to see a wide shot of the stage and people starting to move and stuff like that because they don't give you a ton of that anymore. I feel like they gave you more of that in the past. You
Hmm.
know, this sketch would end and you'd see them on the move as the camera pulled
Yeah.
out.
Now
But
it cuts out pretty cold. Yeah.
you know, I listened to that Dana Carvey, David Spade podcast, Fly on the Wall, and so they're often, you know, talking SNL, reminiscing about SNL, and there is, you know, there's more than one stage in there. There's not just the main stage. Like there's multiple places where they shoot stuff at. Some stuff just can't be seen by some parts of the theater. I think like if you're in there, they'll they'll have screens up so you can see the sketches that's
Right.
happening if you're in one of those spots, but there's only, you know, these little areas face different directions and stuff, and like I know that there's one at the far end that they always talk about like being like that's a really tough spot to get laughs or something. It's harder to get laughs there than in other places just because the way the audience is configured and how far back you are, et cetera, et cetera. So
But you're right, because I can think back to like, you know, like the Babai sketch with like the plane, you know, and the where it was sketches like that where they would always show you the like the pullback of them like
yeah.
starting to go off of that set.
At the same time,
And
in the one, not the Damon one, but the one the week before, they had that sketch where everybody was like being thrown down the stairs, and they kept like you would see them like tumbling down the stairs, and then they pulled out, and you actually saw the way they were doing that. So I don't know. I'm making my own case, or I'm defeating my own
I'm still
case.
with you that they don't do it nearly as much as they used to.
And I
I'm
really
with you
love the
on
way
that
they
one.
do it on UK, especially that transition from sketch to musical guest. I love the way they do that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
All right, so let's wrap it up. I'm sure we've been waxing philosophic about this for the better part of an hour now. So what is your verdict? Okay, like if you had to give it a grade, what grade would you give to SNL UK?
For season one of SNL UK, where you know you were coming out of the gate as a new product, on a 5-star rating,
Sure.
I would give it a solid 3.5.
I would
I'm willing to grade at least the first season on a curve because it takes time for these things to mature.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, I mean, in this day and age with the technology we have, it's not like it would have been 50 years ago, but uh, you know, we have a lot more advantages now. Nonetheless, there's still an intangible quality that has nothing to do with the technology available to you that you must possess in order to, you know, really put out a quality product, in my opinion. So I'll grade the first season on a curve and give it a strong 3.5.
I would agree with that. Like I said, I think that it needs a little more. I don't know. I feel like it needs to make its own mark. I think you have the template, but make that template your own. Put your spin on that template would be the one thing that I would say is don't necessarily lean into the formula and use the formula to your advantage.
Yeah, and I know that every time, I pull up a new episode, I am buzzing with excitement the way I am when I watch, Original Recipe because I'm starting to identify the certain characters and the certain bits that I like. And I know that every episode is going to give me some hilarious accents, and I'm very likely going to catch some absolute like absurdity in some form or fashion, some kind of just like absolutely absurdist notion that will give me a laugh. I am getting excited for update each week because I know what Patty is like. I know what Anya is like. Um, I loved the this past week when it was what was the somebody had like found a letter from their dad.
I have not gotten to update from UK this week.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there's a good one about like a letter from your father or something like that. Just take note of that joke when Patty delivers it on the update when you watch it. But um, uh, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I mean, we were just talking about the grading of it, and I don't know. I
If you
think
gave me
time will.
this season next, if you gave me this season that I've had so far, but it was next season, I'd probably be like in the three range. i
I believe that it has already been renewed for next season, so we
I
should
think
see
so.
at
Yeah.
least at least 2 seasons of it. It will. It's still. I can't get used to them going live from London. That is something I don't know that I will ever like them doing a during the cold the actual opening of the show saying live from London. It's I don't know that
Do
one still hits because I want to like every time they start into it I want to hear them say live from New York it's Saturday night. You know what I
Let me
mean?
ask you
Like
this:
that's
Do you ever think we'll get a we'll get a Australia, Sydney live from Sydney? Do you think we'll ever get a live from Cape Town? I'm just
I
trying to
don't
think of
know.
English. Live from Dublin. We get an Irish version.
No, I
That's
definitely don't think you'd get that, but I could easily see getting a live from New Delhi. It's Saturday Night
oh,
Live.
that would be interesting. Wow. God, I'd love to watch that show.
I 100%. But
Wow.
you know,
No,
yeah,
but this
I
is
would.
this is super fun. I mean, I'm loving it. We're getting double this SNL, and that is fine by me, and that will always be fine by me. You know, I
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree
there's
wholeheartedly.
more than enough of familiarity that I'm already hooked. I was kind of hooked from episode one. I kind of just realized as I watched Tina Fey rolling down those stairs and coming out, I was just like, yep, yep, all in. I love this.
Was Tina Fey the right choice?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought we already touched on that.
We did. I know. Could you have seen anybody else doing it that you felt would have been better?
Ah, maybe. I don't know.
Would a
You
Jimmy
never
would a
you
Jimmy
you never
Fallon
know.
would have been better? Would an Amy Poehler have been better?
I would take Tina Fey over Jimmy Fallon. I'd say interchangeable with Amy Poehler. I'd be thinking more like something like a ScarJo, like an American movie star that's got international vibes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know. I liked it being an SNL cast member. I will say that. I liked it being somebody from SNL. I mean, if you're gonna go that way, you maybe go with like a Sandler or somebody like really big that came
Yeah,
out of
Sandler
SNL.
Sandler could have been a good one. What about like a Kate McKinnon?
I mean, dude, I wish Kate McKinnon can come back to the show. I'd be fine with
She
it.
can do anything, anytime, anywhere.
Dude, like,
But
Kate
she would've been
McKinnon,
good. I'm
please
saying
come
because
back
she
to
is so-
SNL.
like Kate McKinnon by herself is just funnier than Tina Fey. Like, you know what I'm saying?
All day long.
Kate McKinnon will destroy you in a way that Tina Fey,
Yeah.
that's not her lane. So I don't know. Maybe that could have been
No,
a
Tina
better
Fey
choice.
is funny. Tina Fey had many classic sketches, but
Right. But Tina Fey also conveys something because of her NBC connection. She was part of 30 Rock. Like Tina
I
Fey
think that's the key right there.
yeah,
So she was part of 30 Rock.
She represents an air of legitimacy and royalty and status, you know, whilst
And
also being a comedic actor and writer, you know, triple threat.
Well, and her big claim is SNL and 30 Rock. I mean, like she is like that is what made her a household name.
Right.
So
And she is in a classic movie that's like beloved by every millennial woman in the world, which is the whatever that movie is with
Bridesmaids.
oh no like the no my wife would kill me. Fortunately, she doesn't.
Oh, she's in Mean Girls.
Yeah, Mean Girls,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. You're right.
So there's that, you know. She was a good choice.
All right.
Both shows great.
Any parting thoughts before we wrap this week up?
Give us another Snack Homies, please. SNL. If there's anybody from NBC amongst the 5 people listening to this show, please give us another Snack Homies.
Get more Snack Homies. All right. Well, on that note, for my brother Matt, I'm Justin Harper. Thank you for joining us on Inglorious Brothers for another week. We will see you hopefully again next week. Until then, have a great night. Have a great day. Have a great week. We'll see you later.
Inglorious Brothers is a Harperama production and a part of the Harperama family of podcasts. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and follow. Leave a 5-star review, and most importantly, tell all your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. And, oh yeah, arrivederci.